Good evening. I don't know if anybody's out there. Hopefully you are, but it's Wednesday evening, which means it's time to play on our Facebook Live. So I'm just going to wait to see if anybody's coming. Hopefully there'll be someone out there. So this Wednesday, so still sticking with our New Year January theme. So we're going to look at the new kits that we had, because on Saturday we had a new home, we did our first show on Hobby Maker. So thank you very much to everybody that joined us from there. That was fabulous. So but obviously being a new show and lots of new things to show, we didn't get everything in depth. Hi Margaret. So there's a few of my demos left over from that show that I'm going to show you today, plus a few extra little bits and a little bit of a closer look at the things. We have added the new kits to the website, so we'll just go through those and then we'll get stuck into some demos. So one of the new kits, excuse me, here we go, is our display case, and I love this. Paul did really well on this. This is our based on a museum like display case. There, can you see that? It's got the lovely drawer at the bottom here, but the really clever thing is around the back here. Can you see? So it rides up, comes down, and then you can see to get inside and put all your bits and pieces in there. I'm going to just swap to the overhead camera so that I can show you what I did in this one. So this was properly based on the idea of a museum display case. So these are all the butterflies. You do get the acetate here so that you're protecting whatever's inside. Hi Maria. Yeah, it's just a really nice one, and it's sized to go with the Entomology box, which I will show you in a minute. But yeah, it's a lovely kit. So obviously you can make whatever goes inside, but you could also display existing things inside. You know, if you're into your Lego and things like that, or your miniatures. I mean, I love making dioramas, but they are dust magnets. So this was like a perfect solution, because you can make whatever you want, and then it's encapsulated, it's safe. So, you know, any dusting you need to do, you just do on the outside. So that was the display case. And then, now I know this kit wasn't new, which is the entomologist box. Let me just put that one away and let's go to... So this is the entomology box. Now, many of you will have seen this before. Hi Claire. So this is again one of my favourite kits. So this is a little bit older. This is a revamped one, which is what I love about MDF, is we can yeah. Margaret, did you not come to the workshop where we did one, Margaret? I thought you did. We have done this one as a workshop, but this is really clever because the drawers slide out. They have these little doors that open, and then one can sit in the top like that, so that you can display whatever. Now this, let me just bring that out so you can see this little version. I made a very crude, I don't know if you can see from there, you can see all bits of cardboard and stuff, but I made a very crude shadow box to hold little trinket-y bits in. Just ever so simple, but say little strips of cardboard, black over the top, bit of pattern paper in the background, and you've got a really interesting one. Now the next drawer I don't think got showed. So whenever you're doing the entomology box and you're swapping your drawers around, pardon the expression, you do hi Maz, you do need to leave the top one empty if you're going to put one in the thing, because in order to support them, that bit there has to go into here, so it'll just get in the way. So this one, I'm going to take it out so you can see it better. This one I don't think we showed. So it opens up the doors, and then this one is actually a gatefold journal. So just using my cradle and the pamphlet stitch, I've stitched a traditional looking side, and then I've done one back to front so that it'll open up, and then I've put the little butterfly on the front there. Split him in half, I know, cruel, so that he's the opening. for your book. So that's the Entomology box. So again, it comes all flat packed. Graphic 45 is beautiful for these. Yeah, I mean, it's an excuse to use all your lovely papers. You know, it is the ideal way to display things, to just celebrate things. It's just really, really lovely. They're a bit bigger kits to do, so you can take your time, but they're an easy build. And then you've obviously got all the fun of decorating. We did also put together a print pack. You get all these bugs, you get some little labels here. They're printed on 80 GSM. They're laser printed, so if you're into your image transfers and things like that, these work beautifully. There's the butterflies that I used within the display case. You've got ones we'll get to in a bit. You've got some special sheets like this one, which has these beautiful little images in, and that is to go with, that's also in this pack. I haven't really used it yet, Margaret, so I think it's probably, just phone up. It's a free phone number, so just phone up and speak to people. So here's the slides that you get with them, and you also get a little display rack for them to stand up in. You just separate them up and you've got these little frames, and these are some of the things I did with these. And this is the bit I really didn't get to demo on Saturday, so this is what we're going to play with. So here's the little bugs. There's one where I used the slide to cut a hole out of it. Covered some buttons on this one. Another one using the slides. I'm going to talk to you about these letters. Oh, I love that idea. And again, just using them as little frames. So let's get into some demoing, as that's what you're all here for. Right, the letters. While scrolling endlessly through TikTok and the likes, I came across a fabulous junk journaler. I can't remember her name, but she has this tray box, 20 odd compartments, and she gets all her junk mail, all her magazines, all her packaging. Hi Val, quick heads up to anybody that has that is joining me for the online workshop on Sunday. Can I draw your attention to the fact that you've either been sent a link or you have been invited to join a special group for that. If anybody has missed out and wants to join the workshop, you can still join it. We won't have a chance to get the kit out to you, but it's just stamps and ink. You know, there's plenty that you'll have in your stash that you can do it. So if you are wanting to join the workshop, hop onto the website and book your place. But anybody that's already signed up for it, just look out and make sure you have had your invite. Right, going back to junk mail. So, and what she does is she has a tray, and I found myself just a little divider tray, and whenever she gets stuff like this, she'll cut out the words. And this is, I should have bought my tray to show you. So I've just got one of those divider trays up, and I've labelled each one with every letter of the alphabet. And all she does is she goes, and I do it now, and cuts them all up. But she sorts them as she's cutting them. So it's really handy. And she gets all these lovely letters. Okay. And you know, just look around. So there's all of those. But by sorting them as you're cutting them, it is just so handy. I'm not going to do all of this because I will do these at home straight into my tray. So if you've got a compartment tray, you know, like the old art bin boxes and things like that, or the little compartment trays and stuff, get yourself one up and start adding. So you can see all these fabulous words here, all these letters that we can use, and that is what I've been doing in all of these. So these are old magazines. This was a box that a rather nice cake came in at Christmas. That's an old music. There's the that's A. If anybody has got dogs will recognise it. That is the A from Earl's dog food biscuits. So yeah, anything like that, you can save the letters, and then when you're doing your journaling, you've got this endless supply to do this fabulous ransom style. I mean, if I just open this up, this literally came through the door earlier. So an S, an A, an L, obviously all the lovely letters from Farm Food, and you get these fabulous mix of fonts and letters, and they just, so all of these are done that way. You know, they just look great. And if you doesn't take you long to get enough letters to be able to do any message you want, and it's just perfect for your journaling, and it is embracing that whole junk journaling idea. You know, save packaging from things. Obviously, if it's anything with food, make sure you give it a wash, but any cardboard or anything like that is brilliant. Right, so in my little bag here are some letters from my tray at home. But I thought I'd just show you how easy it is, but definitely do it over the tray so that you're, it is really good way, Claire, of doing it. But top tip, have your little tray, your divider up so that you're doing your letters, and cut them up straight into it. It means you'll use them. Otherwise, like those, that's why I've not cut too many up. Am I really going to go home and sort those out into the tray? Probably will, because they're nice big letters. But, you know, make it up as you go along. And also I'll save my stickers. So you might have guessed, I might be playing with a jelly plate at the moment. So I do have a jelly plate that I've been playing with, but this is just one of the ones I wasn't overly happy with. So I'm going to do a little bit of sort of junk journaling on it. So you hear Leonie and I preach about mop-up sheets and things all the times. These are the sorts of things that make these fabulous backgrounds. You know, that isn't, you can see I tried to do a leaf or something. You know, it's not perfect, but it's going to give me drawer divider from IKEA. That's a good idea. Don't run to IKEA. But yeah, if you've got it already divided up, it's much better. Right. In your Entomology paper pack, you've got these lovely black and white images, and I really like the black and white. And I'm going to do the crudest of image transfer. It's not even image transfer, it's image lifting. So I have got wide parcel tape. If you've only got normal thin sellotape, that's fine. The first thing I've done is I've peeled it back and I've folded the end over. That's quite important. Okay, I'm going to go for, I think we'll go for a bit of that butterfly there. And I'm going to cut, no, so keep that end that you've, so I'm going to go across the butterfly like that, cut off. I know I'm not going to get the whole butterfly. Okay, press it down a bit. Don't worry if it's got wrinkles in. This isn't a perfect, this is just a, has Facebook been messing you about? I have noticed it's been dipping in and out, so apologies. It could be our internet here as well, because, you know. Right, so give it a press down. And then that bit that we folded over, that little handle, we're going to start peeling. Now, sometimes you get, I didn't press this, it's cold in here, so this will make a difference. So I've started to get a little bit of the image, which I can then lay over. So that's not lifted up too much image. That's quite faint. Quite like that, actually. Going to leave that one there. Then I'm going to get another bit of tape. I did this in my cabin, which has lovely warm heating, unlike the studio here, which is a bit colder. So I might need to rub this a little bit harder. But I do love the fact that, can you see that? It's very sort of, it's picked up a bit of the ant and a bit of the dragonfly wing. So I'm going to go to here. So same sort of bit of the butterfly. Keep that folded over. So it's important to give yourself a handle so that when you rub it down, so I'm going to rub this one down even firmer, and by using my thumb instead of the handle of the scissors, it's actually going to warm it up as well, and my fingers. And you can feel if it's not pulling off as much as you want, rub it down a bit more. That's it, it's bringing up a bit more this time. So you can see it's not leaving much on the paper. And sometimes you can pull, oh, that's a really lovely one. So if it has pulled off quite a bit of paper, obviously you might need to use additional glue. And also the bit that was your handle, so to speak, you can trim that off. But I'm just laying these at the moment. So I've still got more to play with. I do love a stag beetle. Apologies if people aren't fans of these. So split, bear with me. Honestly, parcel tape does not like cold. I know today has been lovely outside, absolutely wonderful outside. Unfortunately, that didn't filter through to the factory. We didn't really keep standing outside going, oh, that's really warm out here. Right, so fold your end across again. I'm going to do one more like this. I'm going to go for the dragonfly. Actually, I'm just going to go right through the middle here. Yeah, right through the middle there. Okay, might get a bit more of that butterfly. Okay, so give it a good old rub. You can use the, burnish it down a little bit. But you've got this bit here to always, that's a good pull. See, so you're almost making a bit like a washi tape. Hi, Sarah. So I'm going to add that. But because it's, because you've pulled it off the paper there, you've got little gaps where you can see through, so you're not totally covering up your background. I'm going to put that across there because I really like that. So just arrange them how you want. Cut off, once you're happy, cut off your handle that you created, because obviously that's just going to stick up and get in the way. So that was down the bottom there. And then you're just going to glue them where you want them. Okay. So I say image transfer. It's not really image transfer. You can do this with book pages, anything that you're not precious about, because obviously it is going to tear it. So these print packs are ideal for this. But look how fabulous that looks, and it's got a really nice feel because it's kind of fluffy on the background, on the back, and you've got elements where you can still see. I don't know if you can see that. You can sort of see the colour peeping through. Just smear the glue where you need it. I'm rushing this, obviously. Bit under there. Anywhere that you need that sticking down, and you've just straight away you've got something really unusual, and that's the fabulous base for a journal page. So in my little bag, saved from some letters from my tray, I've got bug, and then I'm going to use my letter stickers, again left over from Graphic 45 kit. D. Ooh. I haven't got an apostrophe, so we're going to have to put do not, because I can't not have an apostrophe. We're going to go across here. Do not. And you can make up any little sayings, any phrases. It's up to you, and that's why it's so nice to use things like this, so that you've got that freedom. As everybody has quirky little sayings that you might want to record, make a journal about. Anybody that knows me and knows the story of Paul, our one here is Up Here's for Dancing. I will share that lovely story, and hopefully, I can't see who's watching, so I can't tell. Anybody who can see who's watching, is Paul watching? Because if he isn't, we're all right. So one day, I can't remember, we'd made a mistake, and he was sort of correcting us, and he went, just remember, because we were rushing and hadn't been thinking things through, and he went, just remember, Up Here's for Dancing. So it's kind of stuck forever now. So I can't even remember what the proper statement is now. So don't bug him. Do you know, look, watching me do this, you can see that the ones out of the magazine are a little bit easier to use. It was quite nice out in the sun, but in the shade, yeah. I mean, the trouble is the sun's not getting high enough to get into the factory yet, because obviously with skylights. Once the sun gets up to there, it's fabulous. So there you go. You've got a really sort of simple starting of a little journal page with this. I call it image transfer, but just using your sticky tape to pull up and grab those images. And I just love the fact that it doesn't pull it away perfectly. I mean, you can sort of see how thin it's taken the paper there. You can just sort of see that it's pulled almost that top layer off. But you've got these lovely images, and especially when you put a bit of glue on as well, you can see the colour coming through. Margaret, no. No what? Might have missed a sentence there. Right, okay, so that's the first one. Rightio. Let's have a little look at what we're going to do next. Okay, so another scrappy background. So when I say scrappy background, I mean one I wasn't 100% happy with. So this time I've taken from, again, within those sheets, you've got these fabulous, almost sepia tones. And these you can just, now if you're not great at cutting out, I'll show you a little cheat. Okay, and do this before you cut out. I'll do half and then show you the cheat, because obviously when you're cutting out, there's two scenarios where it can go wrong. One is you cut too far in and you lose things. The other is that you don't cut close enough and you get a white edge, which sometimes you might want. But if you're worried about that and you don't want to have a white edge, but you're worried about cutting around delicate little things like little legs and stuff, while it's still in the sheet, take a very pale, Paul is online, is he? Oh, forget I said anything. Never said anything. Thanks, Margaret. Right, so take a very pale, like old paper, antique linen, and just very lightly go round the outside. See, it's just, I don't know if you can see it, it's just taking away whiteness. And the reason we do it before we cut out is you try inking him with his little legs beforehand, after you've cut him out, it's just a little bit delicate. So by doing it while it's still on the sheet, you've given yourself a little bit of leeway on your cutting out, and it just means that you're not going to have that harsh white edge. Now sometimes it won't matter if you've got a white edge, because you might be layering these onto a white background, in which case it doesn't matter. But I just like cutting them as close as I can, and you do have artistic license on legs and antenna, because you can always draw things back in with a little pen. So I'm just going to cut that out, and I'm just going to stick these over my background. And it, because we've cut really close and we haven't got a white edge, it will make it look like they were part and parcel of the pattern. Okay, that's why I've used these ones that have got a little bit of colour. Again, you could use the coloured ones. Damp and dingy in Norfolk, has it been? No, honestly, here was lovely. I took the boys for a walk this afternoon, and in the sun it was fabulous. Got back in the factory and froze. So Paul's probably downstairs shivering. Not that I'm not shivering up here. I don't know why I'm taking so long to cut this out. But yeah, so the idea being that you can then lay these over, and let's get rid of that. I should finish cutting it out. Because these are very sort of malleable paper, you can pull the legs. Don't pull the legs off, just sort of move them out of the way. Some people are happier using a knife. I am a scissors girl, and you'll notice I also use ridiculously big scissors. I can't get on with those little teeny tiny scissors. They just take forever. I like to use the whole of the blade and manipulate the paper around it as you gradually. Okay, so again, you just start adding these bugs into the background. Look how cool that looks. So that's what I did on this one. So added the bugs, and then again added the words from that idea of using all your... Oh, he isn't online. Whew, we're all right. Okay, panic over, everybody. Okay, so that's just using the sheets very simply to create little journals and little interesting bits. Right, move some bugs out of the way. Okay, next one. Now, apologies, I know some people will have seen this way too many times, but I still love this. So, coming back to this. See these beautiful butterflies that look, that have got that movement, I've got that interest. This is how I did them. Okay, let's put that back on the shelf. So you want to roughly cut out the butterfly that you're going to use. So I'm going to go with that nice peacock butterfly there. And you're going to grab a couple of pages of book page. Okay. And as a nod to my history degree, this is the history of Britain, written by Julius Caesar. Yeah, that's not got a bias in it at all. Right, so loosely cut out your butterfly, then lay it on the top of your book page, and then going through all of them together. Now that sounds like you're going to be cutting through an awful lot, but because you're using book page, which, as we all know, book pages aren't the best quality of paper, you know, they're a little bit thin, you can easily cut through. But what it means is all of your layers are being A, cut together, and B, you know that they're going to be the right shape, because it doesn't matter how well you cut out, you know, there's going to be discrepancies if you cut them all individually. This way it's quick and simple. Again, artistic license on the antenna. Round we go, and we now have our lovely butterfly with all his layers. Now normally when I'm just putting these on cards, I would just apply a little bit of glue down the body and fluff them up, but because I wanted to add these to my display case, as I was gluing them together, I was adding in some wire. Now, if you want to have them looking like they're flying up from the bottom, obviously you glue your wire in with the bit sticking out the bottom. But on those ones, I had them all hanging, which gave them a really nice movement because I was able to manipulate them. So I actually added the wire up here. Now, if you're using an old book like I was, what you might find is that the wire needs a little bit of extra support. So what I did was I put the wire in, and this was the same for all the book page leaves that I did. These all needed a little bit more support. The book page was lovely and delicate, but it just needed a bit of extra support, and especially as you see the wires pinging around and stuff. So what you need to do, where you've cut your butterfly out from, if you just take a little bit of the edge of the scrap, and you're almost going to create a plaster, a patch for it, plenty of glue on it, lay it down and really sandwich that in. Okay, once that's sandwiched in, give the glue a couple of minutes to dry, and then add a little line, next layer of your butterfly, little line. Oh, that's how thin the page is, where I actually missed one. So there's actually 3 book page ones there. And then last one on the top is your little peacock. Then this is the important bit, and this is what I kept doing, and I kept pulling the wires out. Leave that to dry for a good few minutes before you fluff up your wings, and then you've got your little butterfly that you can position wherever you want. If you don't want them on the wire, just leave out the wire, and you've got them to add to your cards, journals, wherever you want them. Okay, so that's your book page butterfly. Right, move to one side. Okay, let's have a little play with the slides. Okay, so the slides come in a sheet like this, and you just separate them with a knife, give them a little sand, and then we've done these little pictures that are, some of these were ones that I've taken, and others are just, you know, wildlife photographs, and we've shrunk them down and we've sepiaed them so that they fit perfectly in your little slides. But I want to make it a little bit more interesting, so I'm going to choose one. I'm going to go with the beetle again, so I'm just going to cut him out. And you'll notice my sheets have bits missing, and I just cut out what I want and I keep everything. Don't waste anything. Okay, And I'm going to ink that up. I'm just going to grab some embossing powder, clear embossing ink, and a piece of scrap paper. Right, I need to ink up my slide so it's not quite so MDF-y, because that's a real word, MDF-y. So I'm just going to ink this up. Now, you don't need anything fancy when you're working with MDF. You can just ink it, okay? Looks fab. Takes the ink really nicely. There you go. That's much more interesting. You can do the edges if you want, just for speed. If you haven't got a dark brown ink, coffee, instant coffee. Right, so that's my slide mount is ready. Now I want to age this up. I want to give it a little bit more interest, a little bit more life, so to speak. Right, so clear embossing ink. Apply a generous coat all across the whole image, okay? Don't worry if your paper appears to go greasy. That is actually what we want. Okay. Hi, Sue. That's all right. You're allowed to be late because you can go back to the beginning and start again. Okay. Tip your clear embossing powder over it. Okay. And remember, everybody from last week, we tip, we don't tap. Okay. Into the pot. If you are using a giant pot of clear embossing powder like that, make sure there's no contaminant on your paper, because it's a lot of embossing powder to ruin. Okay, heat gun. And you want this to fully melt. Can you see that if I move the heat gun a little bit? I don't want to put it to an angle because then it will flick the paper. So straight away, the embossing powder intensifies that image a little bit. Okay, so it's giving it a bit more definition. If you could see how much steam's coming off here. Okay, now while it's still warm, I'm going to sprinkle some more on. If you're not confident doing that, just let it cool down and apply another coat of ink. Doesn't matter. But I'm going to do at least three coats here. And what you'll notice is the paper appears to change colour. Not properly change colour, discolour I suppose is the... So I'm going to melt that again. Again, you can see that lovely... I'm going to bring in the uncoated one in a second so you can see how much it intensifies. I'm just making sure that's fully melted. Okay, before I throw on some more embossing powder. Okay, by the way, I love the fact that everybody's having a little chat. That's what's nice about it. Okay, if it sticks to your paper like that and you can't get it off, if you warm it up, it will come off. And that's because I've got embossing powder on this paper. Right, last coat this should be. I'm going to move to one corner. Okay. There we go. So what I'm looking for is that to be completely glassy and no little divots in it. If it's got little divots, just heat it a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to let that cool down. Now if I bring in this sheet, again, you can see it's intensified that colour a lot more. Okay. The other thing it's made, can you see, it's actually made that go translucent. The oils from the embossing ink and the embossing powder has made it almost like a vellum look to it. So if I go to that one, can you see? You can see my finger through that. Let's bring something brighter so you can see what I mean. So you can see the colour through it. So if you're thinking that this is going to be a slide, that's a much more realistic look when we put that in there, because you could actually hold that up to the light and see through it. It just gives a really, really nice finish. Now, I did one earlier, and when I was doing these last week and I was doing glazing and things, what I didn't talk to you about was if you pop this in the freezer it goes brittle. And I was not saying it's cold up here, but this has already gone brittle just at room temperature. That is not normal. And what happens is it goes brittle, so you can crack it. And what's really nice when you crack it, obviously this one's still warm from where I heated it, but this is one I did earlier. Can you see you're getting these lovely cracks? So again, it's really good for aging this up. So I'm just going to crack it a little bit more and then come in with some of your Distress ink to highlight those cracks. A bit on the back as well, just to give it a real sort of old, you know, not Darwin, but, you know, a natural historian has gone, and you just get this beautiful aged look to it, just using a bit of embossing powder. Okay, so that's using some embossing powder to give your slides some beautiful aged look. Okay, so let's clear all that away. Lid, before I have a mishap, get rid of that. Right, I want to show you how easy it is now to make your own embellishment buttons. So you could be using ones that you've had previously that are already printed, or you could actually use proper old buttons. And I've got a couple of proper old buttons there. What I tend to look for is ones that have a really, really nice flat back. It is much easier to do this if they're nice and flat. Okay, so I need to be able to see through this paper. So I'm going to go with, it's quite a big button. So what you want to do is you're going to kind of hold it up to the light so you can see through. And then you're going to pick to see which bit. I am going to find, so in your printing pack you have big versions and little versions. So I'm actually going to go with the little version, even though that is a big button. I want to go with the little version because I think I'll get a better feel on it, because I don't think I would get enough of the bee if I hold it up to the light and try and, you know, I haven't got enough of the bee on there, so I'm going to go with the smaller one. Okay, so smear glue all over your button, okay, right to the edge, that's important. Then holding it up to the light so you can see through it, you start moving it around until you get sort of where you want. And the nicest thing with these is not to go smack bang in the middle. Don't have the bee sitting right in the middle. Have it slightly offset. Always looks much more interesting. And when I say offset, I don't mean just a little bit. It's a bit like the whole jaunty angle. You've got to do it enough that it's obvious that it's a choice and not you've just slipped. Okay, so I think you can probably make out where the button is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trim round. I'm not going too close. I'm not trying to cut it perfectly. Just get rid of that excess. Okay, you don't want to go too close to the edge because you don't want any of that button to be showing through. So you see what I mean about the bee being offset, and this is why these looked really lovely. They look like you've bought them in a shop, but I've made those. So have it slightly offset, okay, and then you want to find your piece of sandpaper that you brought up so that you wouldn't forget it, and you look at, there it is. I knew I'd have it. Okay, apologies to anybody that doesn't like this noise. So go round, just follow round the edge of the button, okay, until you've got rid of the excess, and that gives you a beautiful, there's no way you'd be able to cut that round, and also where you've pressed against, it sort of feathered it down and really almost molds it to the shape of the button. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with keep it nice and fairly neutral. Where is my old pattern? Obviously at the bottom. Okay, so just go around the edge, maybe a tiny bit in the middle, just to age that up. Now obviously these are buttons, so we want to try and get that holes back in. So rather than, if I'd have taken my awl and poked from the back through, which is obviously easy to see, but it would also push the paper through to the front and give you not such a nice look. So what you want to do, this is really hard to do on camera, so press your finger or thumb across the middle there until you get a little dimple, and then you can push your awl through, give it a little twist so it's really working that paper into the hole, and then you see the excess paper that's from the hole has pushed into the hole, and it's not spoiling the design of your button on the front. Okay, same with the other one, and then that gives you your lovely button with your bee on, all aged up, to add to any of your projects. And I just think a button and something round is really interesting when you're working on journals and things. It's just got that bit nicer look to it. Okay, so that's that. Right, I'm just looking at what else I didn't get through on Saturday. Right, we didn't really play with the masks, so let's have a play with those. So this is really anything that I didn't get covered on Saturday. I'm sort of trying to do now to show off these new things, because remember, January is new. Right, so let's create a little bit of a background here, and then we'll add maybe some of our little bits that we've just made. So I just, you know, really like that. So I think we're going to go with quite sort of these sort of colours. Don't work straight on your cutting mat. Okay, so just starting to add some colour down. Okay, this is what I call aggressive inking, which means you're putting loads of colour down. Okay, round we go. I'm just getting loads of colour down here. So this is going to give us quite a base to work to. And I'm just sticking with the one colour to begin with, because I will add some blending in a minute with. So nice bit of colour down there. Right, now we're going to come in, keeping the same ink pad, just going to add some of these lovely, this is called Turn Ahead. I love this. It's just such a fun, see, straight away you've got real nice interest there. Okay, bit of ink there. So I'm just thinking, yeah, you can see that we're starting to get some little bits that we can use. Maybe do a second slide. Yeah, okay, move some bits out of the way. What am I doing that? Okay, add a bit of ink to there. And this is, when you're doing a journal page or a card or anything like this, don't overthink it. Don't worry about where it's going to begin with. Just play. Just see what happens when you put things on top. And okay, I'm going to come in with this. Now, I'm going to swap my sponge, and I'm going to go with old paper. Now obviously this is a much lighter colour, so it might not do anything, and it might be really subtle. I mean, it's adding a little green tone there, so, but it's not a huge amount. I am going to give some more concentration in the corner there, fade it out. See, even though that's a really pale colour compared to the vintage photo that I'd put down, it's still adding that extra bit of depth to it. So don't, you know, Don't think, oh, I've gone with a dark colour, that's it. You know, I've got nowhere to go. There is always somewhere to go. Okay. There we go. Quite like that. But obviously, if I'm wanting to put these on, where's my other picture gone? Ooh, how do I lose things in such a short space of time? Oh, it's under the lid of my ink. Now, if I was to put that like that, it's okay, but it's a little bit too similar. So what I think I want to do is I think I want to bring in a bit of book page to just help those to pop. Another bit of Julius Caesar. Oh, how I wished I could have done this when I was studying this particular book. Would have made my day. So I think I've gone through 2 again. Fingers aren't working. Right, so I'm going to add that to there. And then when I have these, you see, it just helps them pop a little bit. Okay. Right, that bug's upside down, so I'm going to do that like that. Now, obviously, I've got bugs in here, but these don't have to be bugs. These could be, you know, these could be your photos that you've printed out and to do that with. Okay, start to glue. So I'm going to add a little bit of this. Obviously, I'm just rushing through this. Okay, up to there. So now, these are obviously quite shiny, so put plenty of glue on. Secure the slide, then glue again on the back and add it to your project. And I'd be tempted to, you know, if you've worked on this to make this translucent, if you're not happy with this sort of look you're getting with the translucency over the book page, you could actually cut out an aperture so that the light would shine through there. But it's entirely up to you. You've got all those options. And I quite often don't make decisions straight away. I know that's going to come as a complete shock to everybody. It's almost like saying, oh, I've planned something. Can I just say, I did try planning something. Leonie and I got our diaries together, planned, set a date to do a Facebook Live together, and then a spanner got thrown in the works and we've had to postpone and do it another time. So this is what happens when we try and plan. Okay, so I've got those. I do want to have him there because I really like that, but again, he's just getting a little bit lost there. So I wonder if we could add another little bit of book page. Yeah, that would work. Just tearing it. But I think I want something more than that. So I'm going to tear again and have a tall one and a short one, a little bit overlapped. Add that like that. And I've got one more bit that I'm going to throw at this in a second. Actually, say one more bit. I've got a couple of little plans that are just popping in my little head. Okay. So that to there. This to here. Over like that. Because at the moment it's all very monochrome. And I just think it needs a little pop of colour. So pop that like that. I also want to just, you see how the book page at the top there sort of stopped very abruptly. So by using the sponge, I can just mucky up the edge and make it sort of almost like a continuation. And I just wondered if, as a little pop of colour, I added our butterfly. So I am going to snip off his wire. I apologise, words are struggling today. We've had a lot of blur today. Right, so fly them around, don't decide straight away. I think kind of like it there. Give them a little, so the glue's a bit drier now. So in case you're thinking, well, you know, he's very colourful against the monochrome of there. You've got that connection of the book page and it's just drawing the eye in. But I do feel I want something here. So let's go back to our words. Use your words and see what I can find that I can quickly use. So it might not be the best word. What have we got? E. F. Although I'm not 100% happy with the blue. There's my farm foods. That might work. I mean, ideally you would want all different colours for this. And that's why having your little collection of letters is really handy. Because you can just rummage through, find all your letters. You will find when you're doing your letters that way, there's certain letters that you lack. So what you'll find, you'll start looking at the junk mail and go, oh, another half price sale. I've got loads of H's, I've got loads of P's, I've got loads of... so you start looking for more obscure things so that you get the more obscure letters. I think I have a glut of T's at the moment. But just, you know, add in some little letters. So, I mean, you know, you could go through and fly free, be free, you know, anything that you just to add those little words and that little personalisation. So, so it's getting towards time. Sorry, my hand's gone itchy. So yeah, I'm not going to glue those down because I would ideally like to go through my tray and find better letters. This one I added fly to it, but again, similar idea. And again, this is an idea of adding a line around the outside because at the moment this is sort of floating straight off, but I haven't got a black pen here today, but that might be something else to finish it off. But just messing about, this had no plan whatsoever. You know, so just... And if you're not happy with something, you know, don't glue down something until you're happy and you know where you want to do it. Mess about, move things about, you know, maybe that would be better down here. And these letters, say, get yourself a tray. What was it? The IKEA. Hi, Sarah. Yeah, Wednesdays, 7 o'clock. It's always, Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. There is going to be one Wednesday at 7 o'clock where I confess I will not be doing a Facebook Live. That's because I'm going to be at Hobby Maker, but I will remind you of that nearer the time. But yes, I thought best not, you know, can I stream to Facebook Live while I'm doing it? But yeah, so just mess about with things. You don't have to glue things down straight away. So let's just have a quick recap on what we've done. We've glazed using clear embossing to give things a translucency. And if you let it go cold, you can crackle it. We've created our own buttons just using bog standard button and some paper. We have done our book page butterflies. We have just cut out and layered with our doodah. We've done a very simple image transfer where you use parcel tape to pull off an image. Hi Tracy. Which is the same idea as I did here. I just really love that kind of, because you've got the shine to it. And obviously we started with how you can just quickly get yourself some really fabulous journaling letters. The only other thing I wanted to show, and I don't know what I've done with it now, was I've got this shiny, shimmery parcel gift wrapping tape. And you probably, I mean, they're still flogging off the Christmas stuff quite cheap in some places. So I just thought it'd be really nice on something like this sheet of bugs. I'm going to go with, I don't know whether to go for this bug. I think I might go for this bug. So just tear a bit off. Nope, not a big enough piece. Not worried about his legs, but I'm going across his body. Burnish it down so it's, and then cut him out. So apart from anything else, you're reinforcing his body, but what you are also doing is you are adding a shimmer. Now, yes, I am chopping his legs off because you get 2 of each of these sheets. I probably haven't got the second one of this now that I've started this. So now he's shimmery. If you bend him in half like that and then glued him back to his counterpart with the legs, you've got this lovely iridescent bug to add to things. And it's just a really simple way of using something as simple as parcel tape, wrapping tape. By the way, absolutely rubbish for wrapping presents because they ping off, but really good for things like this. But you know, you could use your washi tapes and things. I just thought I added a nice little shimmer to him. So I think that was the last thing that I had planned to show. So journal pages, just messing about, and parcel tape to do transfers, glazing things, the new kits. So that's the display case, your entomology box. So there were the new ones we launched. So I think that's covered everything. There is still still time to join the workshop on Saturday. The only thing is you would have to do it with your own supplies, which is fine. There's a list on the website. So if you check out the section that says classes, you'll see the online workshop there. It'll tell you what you need. If you've got most of the stuff, you can sign up and join us on Sunday. That's 10 till 4. And also, even if you can't join us live on Sunday, you will be able to join in, you know, you'd still be able to do the class and watch it back at your leisure, and you will have access to it for as long as I can keep it up there. So that's that. So only other piece of news, next Tuesday, the 21st, I'm up at Highlight. Can't remember the times, I think 10 and 12, but I can't remember. But yes, so I'm up at Highlight, and I'll be bringing back the Belgian bind kit for anybody that was interested in that. And I think that's pretty much everything. So if you've got any questions afterwards, just pop them in there. I will try and remember, I know I forgot last week, try and remember to take photos of all the things I've made tonight so that you can look at them. And I will see you same time, same place next week. Have a good week and see you soon.